Hey, Bud Heaton here. I want to talk to you today just briefly about how I got started in the mental game space. I grew up in a family run business. My dad was a photographer, and my mom helped him, with the business. She kind of was the face, and he was the system. And so, obviously, I was there to support and do all that through high school and growing up and whatnot. In fact, I kind of grew up in their studio, so it was kind of interesting to be able to be around the people that they worked with and in the studio that they were working in and whatnot. And so, my whole life led me up to being, hey, everybody asking me, hey, are you going to be a photographer? Are you going to do what your dad does? Are you going to, do all that? And I never was really sure what to say because I wasn't a very good photographer. It never really was a big passion of mine, but everything was leading to me at least helping in the family business. And so when I graduated high school, I made a decision to go serve a religious mission for a couple years. I ended up going to the Philippines, and so I was away for 2 years out of the country. No cell phone, no Facebook, or anything like that. And so that was between for a couple years just after high school. And so while I was gone, as ended, I was nearing the end of the mission there. I started making plans and trying to figure out what I wanted to be and what I wanted to do. And I decided that I was going to go all in and help my dad build and grow his photography business, and just take the skills that I learned while I was in the Philippines and start applying it and going after it. And it's interesting to think back now, like you start making plans, and I was making all these plans and going after it. And like I said, it wasn't something that I was passionate about, but it was just part of who I was and part of my upbringing. And so, as I'm making these plans, I'm going, okay, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do this. This is what's going to happen. I'm going to buy this truck. I'm going to buy this thing. I'm going to, I'm making all these plans in my head, and I'm sure you can relate to that. But I was in the Philippines here, and communication, I only got to email back home once a week, call on Christmas and Mother's Day, and that was really it. It was very kind of limited. It was intended to be a focus time on serving the mission there. So when I got home, my life kind of got flipped upside down. You see, it was all gone. My dad's business had kind of gone under. My mom, about a year before I came home, had a brain tumor. She got sick, and so she wasn't able to help him anymore. And within a year of all of that, he lost client after client after client. And so I didn't know any of that part of it. I knew about my mom getting sick, but I didn't know the impact that it had on the business side of things. And so that was, when I got home, it was like, whoa, okay, I got to figure out all this stuff because I just made all these plans, and all of a sudden that plan was gone. I didn't have any fallbacks because that was the only plan that I had. Everything had been leading up to that point. So obviously I get home and I'm trying to figure out what to do. And I grew up with my dad. We would go and compete across the country shooting shotguns. And so I ended up being very successful with that, and was able to be a 9-time junior All-American, and I was on the USA national team for a couple years as well. So obviously that was my passion, was shooting and competing and getting out and meeting people and meeting incredible people all across the country. That was a lot of fun for me. And so I knew that I needed free time. And so I thought, okay, I'm going to start a business that's going to allow me to have free time just like my dad and I, when I was growing up. And so that was the idea, was that I'd start a business, make the money that I needed to have the free time and the availability to do all that. So, here I go. I'm okay. I'm gonna go all in. But there's a couple problems. I didn't have anything. I didn't have any. I hadn't started schooling yet. I literally went from high school to my mission to now I was home, and I needed to go and figure things out. So I didn't have any college education or anything like that, and so I was really starting from ground zero. I was literally driving my mom's car everywhere I went, paying $13 a gallon for gas, or not, I was getting 13 miles per gallon, and she drove a large SUV, like a Suburban, and gas guzzler. I didn't have any money. My dad helped me out along the way, and I'm so grateful for that, because without him I couldn't have really figured things out. I'm just grateful for that. And so I ended up getting a job in a call center, taking taking payments for a gym membership billing company. So you can imagine how those calls go. Hey, your credit card expired. Yeah, I don't care. Thanks. Click. So at $9 an hour, I'm getting phone calls and taking phone calls like that, having people yell at me and stuff like that. And it's interesting. I found out 2 or 3 months after I started there that a friend of mine came on board, and I was working at $9 an hour. They hired this person on at $13 an hour. Exact same job, nothing different. Maybe they had a little more experience in the workforce or whatever. But it's like, that really frustrated me, because I'm doing the exact same thing as this other person, and yet this person's getting paid more. So it led me back to, okay, I'm going to start a business and build a business as an entrepreneur so that I can control my income, control my time, and have complete influence over what I wanted to do. And, I ended up, life getting in the way, not getting in the way, but life was just moving forward. I continued to work. I found another job. I was able to make some increases in my income and whatnot. But then I got married, and I started a family, and I'm just grateful for my family. And I'm still working in the workforce now. I have a great job for an awesome financial firm, helping with their marketing and things like that. But looking back, I had been given such an advantage by my parents. They were successful. They were able to support me financially and give me all of the advantages of life. And somehow I still wasn't able to create the success that I wanted, or the success that I needed. And that really bothered me, because here I am. I've got every reason that I can to be successful, and I'm not. Right? Does anybody understand? Like, do you feel what that's like, or do you understand what it's like to just kind of have a great starting point and still drop the ball? And so, anyway, recently my wife and I, we had a baby, and she's about a year, 13 months old now. And so I guess that's not recently, but it's new to me. It's figuring out dad life is a new thing for me. And so, anyway, having this family, my wife and I both work, and it hurts to know that she's going to work to help me support our family and make sure that bills are paid, mortgage is covered, everything's taken care of, when she'd much rather be at home with her baby and be a stay-at-home mom. And for me, that's really hard, right? I want to be successful. I'm trying to be successful, and I've been given all these advantages, and somehow I still am able to squander it. Sorry about the break in the video there. My dog really needed to go out. Wasn't enjoying my video or something. So anyway, so I was talking about my wife would much rather be at home with her baby rather than working, and that's been a challenge for me, because as a man, it's my job to provide financially, right? And that's the typical kind of concept that people are going for. And so anyway, here I am trying all these things. I've tried, over the last 5-6 years now, 5 or 6 different businesses, from coaching, coaching entrepreneurs. I'm still working on that, and that's what we're here. That's what I'm here doing today. Is that I've tried network marketing. I've tried shooting instruction, my passion. I've tried going after and getting a financial planning license and certification for all that. And I've tried these things, and it just seems like I never am able to get the momentum to build and start and grow into something more than a side gig, right? I want to build a business. I want to build something bigger than me, right? And 9 times out of 10, I'm doing 3 or 4 different projects at a time. And so I go from thing to thing to thing to thing to thing, and somehow I'm not able to execute the things that I know need to be done. And I'm just, it's not, for whatever reason, I struggle. And I've been scattered all over, right? I go from thing to thing to thing to thing to thing, and without, having some type of system to help me keep on track. And so, my family time, because of that, has suffered. I oftentimes we're watching TV or whatever, and I'm on my phone trying to do research or do something to move the needle a little bit, and my wife looks at me and goes, "Hey, can you just be here for a minute? Can you just be here for a minute?" Like, she just wants my time and attention, right? And that's, as a man, like, I need to be able to do that. And there's this world where I'm going, okay, I'm going to be all in on my business, but I have to be all in on my family too. And so, it's like spinning plates, right? You got one plate spinning here, and then one over here, and then one over here, and by the time one slows down, you have to move over to get this other. And if you have too many going on, it's just hard, right? So, I've been stretched really thin, driving myself crazy. And amidst some of this frustration and craziness, I got to thinking and pondering about my grandpa, who passed away not a long time ago, but several years ago. He actually passed away a month before I was able to come home from the Philippines, and that was tough. He was a really good friend and mentor to me. I had a really good relationship with him. In fact, I lived just a mile away from him, and so my dad and I would go up and do almost all of his yard work throughout the summer and shovel his driveways in the winter and everything. And in fact, there was one time I was working there, and I was working in the yard, and he was trying to get my attention, but I had headphones in and I couldn't hear anything. I had music blaring. I probably wasn't happy about being there at the time. Looking back, it's certainly an experience that I really appreciate, and you'll know why here in just a second. But I could tell that he was frustrated. When he finally got my attention, I could tell he was frustrated, but he just kept his cool, said, "I need you to do this and this and this." Great, I'll go do it. Did it, went inside, sat down with him for a minute, and he just kind of started talking to me for a second about a bunch of different things. I don't really remember, but the most significant thing that he said to me that day was, he said, "Bud, music is an incredible thing. It's awesome to have. But if we never take time to shut it off, we can never listen to ourselves. We can never listen to the advice that's being given to us by whatever you believe in. It could be the universe, could be the spirit, could be, rocks, I don't know, whatever you believe in, right? There's something that can intuition maybe, right? That was his point. There's things that are beyond us that help us move the needle if we just take the time to listen. I didn't fully understand that until later in life, and that's why I said this is one of the more profound experiences in my life. I got to thinking about that. And so, amidst all the chaos and the frustration and difficulties that I've been having, I just stopped and got to thinking about, what's the difference between the people that are successful and me? What's the big difference? And it got me thinking back to my training days with shooting. When I was initially learning how to shoot, I had spent all this time learning the mechanics of how to shoot and swing the gun and move the gun and aim for this target and whatnot. And it got to a point where my mental game became my limitation. I couldn't repetitively, consistently execute on a shot. I'd hit 5 or 6 in a row and then miss 2 or 3 in a row, and it's like, okay, that's a mental game. That has nothing to do with the mechanics of the shot, right? It manifests itself mechanically, but it starts right here. And so I got to thinking about some of that training and some of the stuff that I went through, and there's a book by Lanny Basham called With Winning in Mind. It's an awesome book, incredible book. Love it. It was kind of one of the first personal development books that I ever read. And in that book, he says that 95% of winning is done by just 5% of the participants. Now, I don't know how accurate that stat truly is, but the principle, right? 95% of winning is done by 5% of the participants. Okay. So if we think about that, okay, what's the difference between me and that 5%? And the later on in that book, he talks about one more really powerful core concept. And he says, and I'm just reading the quote here. He says, when we think about winning while performing, we become outcome-oriented instead of performance-oriented, and trying too hard ensues. Trying too hard. Okay. If all we focus on is what we want and not on the process that it takes to get us here, we'll never be able to achieve success, right? And so that was it. Focusing on just the result was my problem. I had been so worried all this time about, okay, I need to be successful. I need to start a business. But not going backwards and going, okay, how can I build this business? This is what I want. How do I build it and get it there? Right? And focusing on the process. And so over the last couple years, I've been putting together my own mental system that keeps me in check and keeps me focused and balanced on, okay, here's what I'm doing now, here's what I'm doing now, here's what I'm doing now, right? And each project has its own phase of things, and I'm working on that system. And once I know kind of where I want to go, what I want to build, right? Once I know what this is, right? Stephen Covey says, start with the end in mind. Once I know what this is, now I can come back and focus on this that gets me to here, that gets me to here, that gets me to here, gets me closer to what this is, right? Because now I can focus here instead of out here on something. And so in these tools, right, my goal with it is to simply just help people forge and build the life that they want to live with thinking tools and goal setting and planning and ways to just get out of this, okay, this is what I want and this is what I want, and focusing just on this. But I want to help people focus on the process that gets them there, right? A lot of times people are going to say, just do the work and you'll do it. And so that's true. But if you don't know what the work is, if you don't know how to get to what this reverse engineering process looks like, it's really hard. I'm telling you, you can work and work and work and work like crazy and not get any results. I've done it. Been doing it for 6 years. Okay, I'm telling you, you have to know what this looks like. You have to be able to focus in and have strategies and tactics and mechanics to get to this. And if you focus on this, you can get to this, but you have to shift from being so result focused that we focus on the process. So, as I've been building these tools, one of the big things that I found is that it's actually, you can make it very complicated. You can have this tool for that, and that, and this, and this, and this, and this, and this, and all these things. And it starts to get overwhelming and convoluted. And that's kind of where, I've been for a little bit. And so I've been simplifying it down, making it more concise, making it more systematic, and making it more generally applicable to people, not just to myself. And that's been massive. I've been able to make some big shifts. So I call the system, it's mental game mechanics. Okay, it's shifting yourself from shifting yourself from results focused or outcome focused to process and system focused to get to an outcome. And so I totally understand where some of you guys are, right? Because it's so easy to get in this loop, this learning loop of, well, if I just learn this one thing, I can do this. If I just learn this one thing, I can do this. And sometimes we just need a mental shift out of that to just break through those barriers. And so that's what I'm looking to do. And so far, I've had some great success in my own personal life, as well as I've shared this with a lot of my shooting clients. I still teach and instruct shooting from time to time. It's not a focus, but it's something that I do as time comes. And a lot of my clients really love some of the tools that I've been practicing with them. And so it applies there. It's going to apply here to your business, to your life, to your marriage, all that stuff. not only have I made personal changes as an entrepreneur and how I'm building things and doing things, but my relationship with my wife, my relationship with my spouse, so much better. My relationship with my baby, my relationship with my God, right? All of my relationships, all of my everything is just coming into balance because I'm able to get out of this future focused place into just being present and in the moment that I need to be in to have the outcome and the results that ensue from being process focused. And so I'm not where I want to be yet, but I'm getting there. And I want you to join me on that journey. And that's why I'm here. And I want to help you, like I said, forge the life, the legacy, the marriage, the business that you want by helping you gain clarity, focus, confidence, and consistency across the board in your life. Look forward to talking to you again soon. Look forward to more videos coming, and I appreciate your time. Thanks.